Well, good day, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on this webinar. I am incredibly excited. Today, we are going to talk all things teenage pregnancy, a topic that is incredibly close to my heart. And so I'm just going to give you a little bit of background. My name is Dolly, by the way, as we start off, and I'm joined by a fantastic and fabulous panel, which I will introduce shortly. But essentially, we are running the We Beat Teenage Pregnancy campaign this week, well, from the 9th up until the 11th of January. And the reason, right, we are running this campaign is, amongst many reasons, because despite the fact that government, and other institutions have continued to um, advance the plight and awareness of pregnancy, we have seen the numbers, especially in South Africa, soaring in terms of teenagers who are actually falling pregnant. So yes, we are for the preventative measures that have been put in place by government, but the numbers consistently are growing. We see a lot of teenagers falling pregnant, and as a result, we are basically saying that it's not enough, to put preventative measures in place, but to also talk about the effects of teenage pregnancy. Now, just to furnish you with a couple of stats in terms of where we are with the numbers. So the numbers from Statistics South Africa have basically informed us that up until 2018, at least 5.7%, which is a representation of about 167,000 teenagers between 14 and 19 fall pregnant. Now, that number is incredibly alarming, especially if we're saying that we are putting preventative measures in place. Of course, there is a sense that teenage pregnancy is normalized, but we want to punt the fact that it should not be normalized. And the fact that our campaign that we are running, the one in many, is basically saying that we beat teenage pregnancy, and we absolutely firmly believe that teenagers have got the capability and capacity to beat teenage pregnancy so that they can make informed decisions about parenthood at the right time. So allow me then to welcome my incredible panel that is going to be joining me today. And the purpose of this panel is for us to really talk about issues of teenage pregnancy and to flesh out the various perspectives around what causes teenage pregnancy and perhaps what can be done more than what has already been done to basically the effects of teenage pregnancy. Allow me first off to then introduce you to Utembela Sokoni. Utembela Sokoni will be representing parents and will be behalf of parents and talking to us about some of the issues that parents face with teenagers and perhaps what they would like to see as parents more being done as parents. And then I've got Ukulumango Ngonji. Ukulumango is a teenager and refreshing, to basically hear her views around what is it that teenagers are basically battling with. And further to that as well, what is it that we need to be aware of and what kind of support structures do they basically need? And then I'm also excited, to present to you Usis Nomlindo Poto. Usis Nomlindo is a teacher. And I think she plays a phenomenal role here because I think most of the time, the discussion around teenage pregnancy is one-sided. We talk a lot about, teenagers or students, and we never hear the perspective of teachers and the effects of teenage pregnancy on teachers. So she's going to help us, understand and furnish us with information around what are some of the challenges around that space. And then lastly, and not least, we've got another phenomenal teenager that we absolutely love, Ukhulekazi Simakuhle. You can call her Ukhule, that has actually, that is joining us as well from the perspective of teenagers as well. And she equally, like Ukhulu, will basically be sharing with us from a teenager's point of view, what the effects are of teenagers at school and some of the things that we basically need to be aware of. So, hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you so
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining this webinar. I mean, it is it's a very important discussion I think that we're having. And like I mentioned earlier on, I think the reason is because it's not enough to obviously focus on preventative measures, but we need to continue to create awareness on teenage pregnancy. There has got to be a collective and collaborative approach. There's no one person who does not have a responsibility to basically speak out against teenage pregnancy. I think all of us have got a responsibility because the effects of teenage pregnancy have got effects, to our societies and the economies at large. So I am going to, on that note, start off, because Mrs. Sogoni, you are on my left, so you're the first person I'm basically seeing. I'm going to pick on all of you guys, not chronologically, but let's have a conversation. But I'm going to start off with you. I mean, as a parent, and perhaps ask.
Yeah.
So in terms of teenage pregnancy, what do you think are some of the challenges that teenagers are basically facing? Why do you think that the numbers continue to grow around teenage pregnancy?
Yo, um, you know, what I can say firstly is that we're raising kids that we assume that they've got a mind of their own. And because of the time that we are in, in our society, and we call it, how can I put it? It's a millennium or whatever we can call it, but we think they've got choices. They can make choices on their own. And we lack to give them the right information, number one, as parents. And we leave that to teachers because, as I said, because of the time that we're living in, we think that school has that information for them. And then the other thing that is the utmost important that I've realized as a parent is that it's so important, it's imperative to speak to your child and to understand where they're at and who they are in order for them to be able to be comfortable to open up to you as a parent. And that is something as parents we're not doing. We're enforcing our rules into our kids. And when they retaliate, and then it comes out to those things. Another thing is that a child wants to explore. When they explore, they don't have the information. They go out and they explore.
Yeah.
And when something happens, you did not give them that information. I think that's the huge part where the teenage pregnancy comes in, because number one, we assume that they've got the mind of their own, they can make their own decisions, they can be able to think for themselves. Yes, they can, but you haven't given them the tools to decide what is right and what is wrong. Because you keep on saying that not the teacher has the subject at school for them to teach them, but they need that conversation from you as a parent. And it's not easy. I'm not saying this as a parent that is doing it, because I'm not. I won't lie to you, I'm not. But what I've realized in the past few months is that it's very important as a parent to sit down with your child and to understand who they are before you can judge them. Because what we do as parents, we're too quick to judge,
Yeah.
and we're too quick to think, no, you're wrong. You put on things and you're saying that you're wrong. You're not supposed to do this and that. Did you give her the tools? Did you teach her what to do and what's right and what's wrong? And did you tell her or him, when you're doing one, two, three, this is where you're going to come out? You understand? So that when they do actually experience, they've got the information within themselves. They know what they're supposed to do, but they choose to do it the other way. And what's said about teenage pregnancy is that the environment that we're raising our kids in. Remember, kids are being raised by parents, kids are being raised by teachers, kids are being raised by community. But most of all, kids are being raised by the environment, whether you
Mm.
like it or not. What's going on around the environment, it sinks in very quickly to them. So that's another challenge that we have as parents. You need to instill into your child to be confident enough to say, I am not doing that. So that is something that we're not doing as parents. You understand? So it's a long journey. It's a long journey that we as parents that we need to look into
Mm.
and get to understand your child better.
Mm.
You know,
Thanks for that,
yeah.
Tembela. Thank you so much for that. I mean, if I can then just go to you, Sis Nomlindo, I mean, Utambela speaks about the fact that there has to be a collective effort in terms of raising this awareness on teenage pregnancy and raising children. Do you think that it is the responsibility of teachers to basically bring that awareness of teenage pregnancy in schools,
Mm.
kids, or do you think that it needs to happen outside of there as well?
Hello, everyone. Yes, I like the fact that how I wish all the parents would be doing that. Ne? The parents, they pave the way for us. In the moment they introduce them, or they orientate them to
Mm.
sexual or they do sexual orientation, they pave the way for us. It's important for us to work with parents. It's not easy for us to introduce this if they don't, they haven't learned anything from their parents. I like the fact that the parent has highlighted that they need to work together. I mean, they need to do something to introduce this to learners. But what I want to stress more, to orientate because one of your question is it important to highlight issues of teenage pregnancy, or must I not come to that yet?
You absolutely can. Please go for it. I mean, and maybe if you may, and maybe if you may as well, how do you think as teachers in schools you guys are highlighting, or creating that awareness of teenage pregnancy as well?
Yes, like I said, it cannot be easy without parents' cooperation. As soon as at least they have the basic knowledge from the parents, it's gonna be easy for us. For us to introduce this, it is important to go deep because in their academic, like in their academic subject, like the life orientation, there is a lot talking about this teenage pregnancy. We need to dig deep, but before doing that, it is important for us to address the development stages. Stages of development are very important to them, like the physical changes. And once that has been touched by parents, it's easy for us to get into that because these children, they like to explore. Like with the peer pressure is also there. So we need, as we are doing it deep and like into their academic subjects, we need to highlight how to say no, much as the parents must have highlighted that. So we need to, as we address the stages of development, physical changes, sexual orientation, also the result of sexual acts, they need to know the consequences of the social act, because our children have they are coming from socio-economic backgrounds, and which they may lead to the dropout in school. So that can affect their dreams. So before doing anything, we need to dig deep into the life orientation itself, teaching them about these stages of development, because the peer pressure is just very, very dominant outside. I think I have, unless there is something that I've omitted.
No, there's still more we want to hear from you, but thank you so much for that. I mean, I want to get to Ukulu no Kule. So their names are Kulu no Kule. And Kule, let me start with you. I mean, based on what has been said, do you think that there are enough interventions at school to support teenagers to basically bring about the awareness of teenage pregnancy? Do you think that there's more that can be done, or do you think that there's enough? Do you think that where you are sitting, you are saying, I'm okay, I'm being taught, about teenage pregnancy at school, and therefore I don't have a problem, or do you think there's more that needs to be done?
Speaking for me personally, I think enough is being done. Like in the school I'm in the environment I'm in, I'm very aware of what is happening and the numbers rising and everything about teenage pregnancy. I feel as though I'm well informed. I know what the consequences are of doing sexual acts and stuff like that. I think there's more that can be done, honestly, because not everyone is like comfortable in coming to their parents and asking them about this. So they go to teachers, and teachers are, well, the teachers that I have and I've been surrounded by are very open with me. They're very honest. So they educate us enough on teenage pregnancy and we are very aware. But for the less fortunate areas, I think more can be done. I think teachers and parents like have to make more effort into teaching them. Yeah. That's what I have to say.
Okay, perfect. And then thanks, Kula, for that. And then Kulu, what is your take on that? I mean, from where you are sitting, from your environment, would you say that that's the same? I mean, we're seeing the numbers rise, right? And the reason why, and it was part of this campaign and creating that awareness is because it is a problem, right? And it continues to be a problem. And do you think from where you are sitting that there's more to be done? And perhaps what is that more? What is it? Because you know, we've got a parent and we've got a teacher, and perhaps they don't know what it is that needs to be done from their point of view. So as a teenager, what would you like to see happening?
Good afternoon. I feel like there needs to be more done at schools, not specifically every school, but there are schools like there are private schools and then there are schools in the township, whereas schools in the township, they don't have the necessary needs and knowledge about the teenage pregnancy. And whereas private schools, they have all the needs and the knowledge. And I feel like the more that should be done, it should be like in drama and acting, all of that. People love acting, so I feel like there should be more acting focused on that and showing that the consequences of that, how they're going to affect your life after that. And I feel like at schools they normally only focus on, well, at my school they only focus on the puberty part and all of that, whereas they don't go to basic the necessary need to teach us about teenage pregnancy. And I feel like that is a very thing to that is a very people need to know about that, because at my school not every person knows how a girl grows up in the township, whereas there's a 13-year-old girl who has a child now and they might not know that. And I feel like it's necessary for people to know about that. Even as I know what teenage pregnancy does to you, how does your life, but not everyone knows that. And sometimes I feel like parents don't understand that the children don't have the knowledge that they think they do have at the same time. And I'm not saying that we should not learn about it, but at the same time, I feel like the parents need to they need to acknowledge that us as children we are growing up, and it's a different time of the world now, whereas we're not focused on that most of the time. But I feel like they should sit you down and tell you that if you're going to go this road, this and this will happen. And I feel like that's something that we need to focus on more and that we are not focusing on right now.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kulu, for that. I want to jump in and I want to piggyback on what you're saying and speak to you, Tembela, and say,
Yeah.
do you think that it's still taboo to talk about, you know, sex related issues to teenagers? Do you think that parents are not doing enough of talking to their teenagers about, you know, about those kind of issues and perhaps the effects? Do you think there's more that can be done?
You know what? You look at your life as a person and you ask yourself, because I think that is our scapegoat. You look at yourself and you said, but I've done well for myself and nobody ever set me down. And I did not have a child at a certain age because I knew what I wanted at that time, and I knew what was going to happen if I did. But forgetting it, that, as I said earlier on, that the kids that we have today are not the same as us. You know, we were too scared to explore then. And at the end of the day, then we knew when you've done something, when you want to do something, there were consequences, and you knew exactly what your parents are going to do. The kids of today, they are, I think I can call them, they're living a free life where they think it's okay to explore, it's okay to do this, but they forget that there's going to be consequences at the end of the day, you know. And I'm going to blame us as parents as well, because what we're doing to our kids, we want to give them a life that we seemingly we did not have, you know, when we were growing up. You try to give this child everything that you can because you know that you lacked so much while you were growing up, but you're forgetting the fundamental things of life when you're giving these things to this child, when you're saying that I can do this and do that and do that for you. And they think that they are comfortable to do just about anything. You're not giving them the information, but you're giving them the practical things, or you're feeding them the wrong information, or you're giving them things to entice them, you know. Information is more important than enticing things with gifts, enticing kids with the kind of life that you think they deserve that you did not have. Whereas if you can sit down with a child and tell them that it's okay to do ABC, but you must know that when you've done this, this is where you're going to come out. And I'm saying this, it is taboo till today because I haven't sat with my daughter and said to her, listen, if you're doing 1, 2, 3, this is where you're going to come out. It's not easy because you keep asking yourself that, where do I start? You know, where do I start? How do I sit this child down? Am I telling her to go and do this? Or how am I approaching the whole situation? Until to a point where something happens and you are angry, then the whole information comes out in a wrong way. And the damage has been done, you know. So I think, yes, I think it's still taboo to still today for parents to sit down with their kids and tell them exactly what needs to be done or what his life is all about, because we're assuming that the teachers are there to do it, forgetting that the life outside, besides the teachers, it's teaching them exactly what they want to know. They're not being taught what you would want them to know and what choices that they need to make in order for them to make the right decision.
Sure, sure. Thanks for that. And then, Kula, tell me, what do you think are some of the reasons teenagers are falling pregnant? In your opinion, why do you think they are falling into that trap of, teen pregnancy?
Well, I think majority of the reason is not being educated on safe sex, on consequences of sex, teenage pregnancy. Like they're not being properly educated. Like they know some things about it, but they don't know everything. I think also self-esteem plays a part in it. Like you don't love yourself and you go out there looking for that love in the wrong places and things happen and you fall pregnant. Yeah, that's what I think.
Sure. Thanks, Kula. And then, so normally, according to you, I did my research, right, on issues of teenage pregnancy, and I spoke to a number of, teenage mothers. These were pregnant teenage mothers, and they were basically saying that, and I'm not sure how true this is. Of course, research basically, tells us that when a child has found themselves in that situation that they are pregnant, they are basically shunned upon at school, and that push them away, and they ask them to stay at home. Do you think that's the right thing to do, to ask kids to stay at home? What is the right thing that needs to be done?
The right thing to be done here is for the children, because the Constitution allows it. It's like the Constitution allows the children need to come back as soon as they deliver, because what is important at the end of the day, they have to push their careers. They are allowed to come back, but it's due to many reasons. Like I mentioned, social and economic reasons, other children don't come back, which that have a negative impact on developing their career. Otherwise, it is important for children to come back and to continue with their studies, but many of them don't. They don't come back due to pressure, different pressures. Others just have these fears of other fears, but initially they had to come back.
No, absolutely agree. I mean, I think the numbers actually don't lie. Dropout rates are actually quite high for those who actually do fall. And then secondly, I mean, obviously, these teenagers end up having to stay at home to look after the child. And therefore they then don't come back to school. I do think there is a responsibility though, in terms of where teachers are coming from, and I'm happy for you to differ, to basically be proactive enough, to prompt, to prompt the teenagers. I mean, when I say prompt, I mean, for me, what's important is the fact that there is life after teenage pregnancy. Of course, we're advocating for teenage pregnancy. We are saying no to teenage pregnancy. But I do think that most of these young girls, when they do fall pregnant, they think that's it and that's the end and that it's all doom, right? And that's it for them. There is no future. which is not necessarily true, because what normally happens then is that they don't necessarily finish their tertiary education and they go into low labor, markets or low skill jobs, which obviously, as you are talking about it from a macroeconomic level, it does affect the economy. I absolutely agree with you. So the ramifications of teenage pregnancy are absolutely dire, and they're bigger than that. So I agree. And then Thembela, I want to jump back, again, and really just ask you, so I mean, what support structures do parents need? What is it that you guys need to be able to foster these kind of conversations and talk about the issues of teenage pregnancy out there?
I always say, my battery's flat. Oh my gosh. What's going on here? Something went wrong. Sorry about that. I think I'm running out of battery, but I just fixed it. I think,
Okay.
I always say raising a child, yes, you gave birth to this child, you brought this child to life. And a child, as I said earlier on, is raised by so many things. It's raised by a parent, it's raised by a community, it's raised by a teacher, and it's raised by the environment. When I say by the community, we've got churches in the communities, we've got other structures in the community that should be involved whether it's a girl or a boy, when you're raising kids in your community. Because I feel if all those structures can be involved in raising these kids, we can mitigate the rate of pregnancy when it comes to kids. Because if it can start there at church, let's not be afraid to talk about teenage pregnancy. At home, we should not be afraid to talk about teenage pregnancy. In all other structures in the communities that we do, there are so many things that are happening in the community what kids are involved in. But these are the things that community doesn't want to involve in, because it did not happen to me. It's not in my house, Sorry, it did not happen to me. Until it happens into their household, then something needs to be done. So I think it's very important for the whole community to be involved in raising a child. As a parent, it is my responsibility to sit down with my child. I don't care how scary it is. It is scary to sit down with it. I've got a 13-year-old that I scratch my head each and every time she does something. And how do I deal with this one? And there was a time when, I'll make an example with her, where we had a fallout together and I had to ground her. And because of the anger I had to ground her for life. And then I realized, no, man, if I'm going to do this, I'm taking away so much from her. And that will actually make her retaliate or do things that I was not even expecting her to do. Then it prompts something in my head that let me sit down with her and understand who she is. Maybe as a parent, I don't know the child I gave birth to, because I think I know her, but I'm forgetting that she's growing. She's got a mind of her own. So I need to sit down as a mother with her and understand who she is and what is it that she expects from me as a parent, so that I can be able to tell her, listen, I'm your mom. And at the end of the day, this is what I need you to do. And the world out there will always be there, but it is your choice how you navigate it. How you get to one point to another to get to where you are, and what is important in life for you to be able to achieve whatever that you want. Then you can make those decisions. Then you can be a mother. Then you can do whatever. So hence I'm saying all these things, all these structures are very important. But as a mother, it is my responsibility as a parent to sit down and understand, who is this child that I gave birth to? Who is this child that I'm raising? What is she expecting me from me as a mother? What do I expect her to do as a child, so that we can be in and we can reach an understanding? And then it makes it easier for her to be able to talk to me as a mom. Same thing at school. that gives her the confidence to say to a teacher, but you know what? I read about ABC. Can you be able to explain to me what? Because that's another thing that actually helps a child with the confidence. It's not easy to be influenced by the outside world. A child that knows what she wants, what he wants, it's not easy to be influenced by the peer pressure because you instill that to your child. You gave that into it. You know, when you sat down with her and you explained to her the life and you kind of understood the kind of person that she is, then you giving her the tools. You saying, listen, it is the ball, not that the ball is in your court, but the life is yours. How you do it, it's your choice. But as a parent, this is what I expect you to do. And whatever that you expect me to do as a parent, I can be able to do it for you. Not forcing, I want you to do 1, 2, 3. And if you're not doing this, then it's not going to happen. That's not how it's being done. And I think because it was done that way to us, we think it's okay to do it, which is it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've got to agree with you. So much to be done there. I want to jump to Kulu. Kulu. Kulu, I want to ask you, I mean, I think I did ask this question earlier on, but I really just want to hone into it. Why do you think, okay, what makes you different from the next teenager who's actually falling pregnant? What are you doing right? What is it that, what methods are you applying to make sure that you don't fall into that trap? What are you doing differently?
For one, I feel like if you don't wanna be in teenage pregnancy, you need to have an outlook on your life and what you want to become when you're older. And you need to see, if you need to like ask yourself, is it really worth it to like, is it really going to be worth it to have a child right now, not having my career first and everything that I want as I was growing up dreaming about? And I feel like for me, I've like sat down and I've actually noticed that I feel like children and everything else is going to come after my career. I need to become who I want to be and be myself as a woman and stand for myself and not need other people to take care of me. And then when I have all of that and all of those basic needs that I am going to need and my wants, then I feel like it'll be a good decision to have a child later on at that stage when I've already have my successful career and all of that. It wouldn't be right to have a child right now, whereas you don't even know where you're going to get the money for the milk and all of that. And you still have to go to school on top of that. And then you're going to miss like 2 years of school just because you thought having a child right now would have been a great decision. And I feel like most children, they need to think like that. Their mentality is not always like that. And they just think, oh, so if I have a child right now, my mom's going to take care of me and all of that. But that's not necessarily the right thing all the time. Because I know if I were to get pregnant right now, my mom wouldn't look after me because she has gave me that mentality to say that if you have a child right now, I'm gonna take the child, but you're gonna sort yourself out. And I feel like most parents need to do that to let them know that don't do this, otherwise you're gone. So I feel like rather have your life in order, then have your children after that, because then you can focus more on yourself and the children that you've had. So I feel like that is the great decision people need to make.
Sure, no, absolutely. Thanks for that, Kulu. And I see Utembela, they're laughing, and she perhaps can resonate. And then Kule, let's jump off you before I go to Sismondindo. On your side as well, what is it that you're doing differently, and what is it that you want to say to other teenagers out there? Yes, I know that you mentioned earlier on that where you are in terms of your schooling environment, perhaps yes, you do have the resources or the educational resources to basically create that awareness. But what is it that you are personally doing differently, similarly to Kulu? And how would you advise other teenagers to basically carry themselves? And what are the reasons that you're saying, nope, I will beat teenage pregnancy? You're on mute. You can unmute.
Oh, sorry. So as Kulu said earlier, that you have to know where you're going in life, what you want in life, what you want for yourself, who you want to be. Like you have to know where you're going first and what you want to have. And then after you've got that all together in order, then you can have your children. And I feel like right now, the way you need to carry yourself is important, because my parents have expectations of me. My parents have expectations of me, what I need to do, how they want me, and where they want me to go in life. And I also I want to go in life. And I think that influences me to make better decisions, to say, like, no, maybe stay away from that. That's not for me right now. That's not what I need to be doing right now. And for other girls my age to just sit themselves down and see where they want to go in life and what they want to do. And once you have that direction, literally no outside influences can just influence you to do something that you don't want to do. So yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Kula. So Nomlindo, I want to ask you this question, seemingly, controversial, but when I was doing my research and around this topic as well, I actually found out that so, apparently teachers have this mentality that basically says that it is not my duty to teach a child about, abstinence or, teenage pregnancy. If I'm here to teach this child about mathematics, that's it. And if this child has fallen pregnant, it's got nothing to do with me. Do you think that it's because our schools are so inundated and our schools, there's no capacity to basically dedicate such tools and resources to those kids, such that teachers are, they're focusing on academics and that's that, and everything else, it doesn't concern them? Do you think it should be that way, or do you think that it should be part, of teachers' curriculum to basically, whether you are teaching anything outside of life orientation, but make it your responsibility? Do you think it would be fair to say that or not? You're on mute as well. Let me unmute you. Okay, I think you must unmute.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah.
My apologies, man, about that. My device was hitting. All right. Yes, it is important that all teachers must come and must introduce this topic. It is very important because it leads to many complications like deaths, unwanted children. You would see children dumping, these learners dumping their children due to this unwanted child because they got into this having no knowledge. Sometimes I believe it is better for one to do something, that he was orientated on. So it is important, and I can see sometimes my colleagues, for instance, one of my colleagues is teaching maths, but because of some activities that we notice every day, she will just, before going to his or her subject, she will introduce that and then orientate children like we do in life orientation. So it's important to stress this because there are many deaths out there that are caused by this, because this leads sometimes to rape, and this peer pressure causes a lot. That's why it is important also for interventions. Outside interventions are very imperative when it comes to this. Sometimes these learners, they are used to the same faces like us, if we do teach them this every day. Sometimes when someone comes from outside and much as that person will be saying the same thing that we've been telling them, but sometimes the concentration and acknowledging that this really is happening, because children are children. Their knowledge sometimes is little, sometimes they are careless. And you see this social media also has a contribution when it comes to this carelessness to these children, because sometimes you will find out that there is a WhatsApp group, for instance, they even form a WhatsApp group and it's named Maths group, but when you dig deep, you'll find out that no, it's not Maths group. They just show their private parts. So it all goes back to the orientation. How well were they taught in the life orientation? How we not make this a taboo? How do we, how do we speak about this, because it must be a frequent thing, even during break times when we are busy with their ground duties. We do have some groups and introduce this even in my choir. Before we do this music, like I start with my choir. Sometimes I introduce this, having noticed some activities that are not proper. So it is important to like this to be a daily bread, our daily bread. And myself too, as a parent.
Yes, normally, I mean, you're raising pertinent points. I mean, yeah, I'm very touched by this because I don't necessarily think that the causes of teenage pregnancy are solely because, you know, of peer pressure and all of that stuff. And we'll hear a little bit, cooler, but I do think that, I mean, there are things that are happening because there are things that are happening indoors within their families, and children are raped in their families, and they end up being pregnant. And it's very hard. So to be honest, I have to put it out there. I want to ask you though again. I mean, before I actually move on, the current life orientation curriculum, whether you're in a private school or school, do you think that it's still relevant in times that we find ourselves in, or do you think that we need to shift the way that the curriculum to be relevant to the times that we're in based on the issues that we are seeing on the ground?
Sorry, dear, I did not get the last part. Can you please rephrase the question again?
Sure, no problem. So there have been arguments that, you know, the current life orientation curriculum is outdated. It's not suitable for the problems that we find ourselves in right now. Do you think that that's the case? Do you think that we need to change the curriculum to tailor make it for the prevalence of the issues that we're facing right now?
Yes, I do agree that it can be edited. Otherwise, to me, what we are doing in terms of with the life orientation, it is enough because we do dig deep. And what you would notice, if you would be in the classroom of a teacher introducing this for the first time, like we are dealing with 12 and 30 to 13-year-olds in primary school, that is grade 7, you would find them giggling and disturbing, just time-consuming things, showing what the parent said previously, that some parents don't introduce this at home. So it is very important for this to, I mean, the current way in which we are doing this, yes, it is working. At the same time, it can be edited because you know what, everything is fast, the technology, the social media is advanced. What they are learning there when they are in groups, what they are learning during break times. So really, I would support the fact that it can be edited because at least we are a bit behind what they are doing, as they are too fast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Totally agree. Absolutely. So Kulu and Kule, I want to come to you now and talk about the social media aspect. So both Tambela and Nomlindo have, you know, they've basically raised this issue of social media. Okay. And you guys are obviously teenagers and you are on the receiving end. What is it that you're seeing on social media? Are you guys seeing a lot of education around teenage pregnancy? Or are you seeing a lot of, you know, teenagers flaunting sexual activity that would drive or lead to peer pressure? What is it that you guys are seeing? Any one of you can take that question. Both of you, actually, depends who starts. Okay, Tulu, you can go.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last part. What did you, I didn't hear the last part of the question.
Sure. So the question is around, what is social media showing you guys? You know, is it teaching you about pregnancy, or is it really showing you, or is it teaching you that it's okay to be free? It's okay. Is it teaching you things that are provocative, that are not really educating you teenage pregnancy? Is it leaning more towards, you know, peer pressure, where, you know, teenagers feel like, actually, I want to be in this social circle, that basically of teenagers who are pregnant. What are you guys seeing? I mean, I'm not a teenager, so we're not teenagers. So we'd love to hear your point of view. What are you seeing from social media?
So I'll start by there are many different types of social media. So I would say like Instagram is it's a very kind of like feel free kind of thing. So there you like, if people are going to be like, oh, negative to you, you have a way to retaliate and say, you don't have the right to say that to me because I'm living my life now. And I feel like not all social medias, they teach you about teenage pregnancy. There might be like a few ads here and there, but it's not like always it's not an always thing. So I feel like social media is a really big part of our lives because it's where we can express how we feel. You can like take a stand and say, I won't stand for teenage pregnancy, and then you make a campaign which is going to be something big. So I feel like social media has also helped in those kind of ways because then you can raise knowledge about certain matters, and as well as that how you live your life and all of that. So I feel like social media, it's sometimes a good thing, but it's always like sometimes a bad thing because you never know what to expect from it. That's the reason why I feel like it's more interesting because then you can interact with other people and see their point of views on different matters. You think as your opinion how you think they should be handled. And I feel like it's also a way to reach out to people that are overseas and all of that, whereas you wouldn't have had that without social media. And I feel like it's also helped with the century that we're living in right now. Technology is a really big part of our lives. So I would say that you should take the stand to either protest for social media, with teenage pregnancy if you want, you make a campaign, or you could just follow the others that. But I feel like you shouldn't always be. A lot of the times, being a follower is sometimes a good thing.
Oh, no, absolutely profound, Kulu. Thank you so much. Kule, what's your take on that?
So social media really plays a big role in the century, the society that we're living in right now. I feel like society is more glorifying it more than campaigning against it. Because you see a lot of young mothers posting with their kids, and I'm not putting them down at all. Like, I'm happy that they're coping and that they're able to raise their kids. But it's not very educational. It's not really like on Instagram and stuff like that. We only see the good parts. We don't see them crying. We don't see them breaking down. We don't see them hurting themselves. We only see the good. So when you see the good, you don't see the flip side, and you're thinking, oh, this is good, I should do it. It's not good. Like, there's always a flip side to things. So I think that social media is very deceiving in that sense. But it can also be good because people in your situation, you can reach out and they can tell you their situation. Like, it can be a good support system. It just depends on how you use it, what social media streets you're on, and basically, yeah, that's my take on it.
Thank you so much, Kula, for that profound indeed as well there. So we are running out of time, but what I want to do, the last thing I want to do here is ask each and every one of you a question, just one question, just to really round up our webinar. And then I think I've got 2-3 questions that are basically coming in from the audience that anyone can basically take. But Thembela, I want to ask you, what do you want to say to other parents out there regarding this issue of teenage pregnancy?
You know, raising a child, I wish there was a formula for it. Unfortunately, there isn't. But what I have learned is you as a parent, you're not always right. No matter how old you are, you're not always right because you don't know how the next person feels. So it's very important for a parent to listen to their kids and don't listen to respond, but listen to understand them, who they are, and what is it that they really yearning and wanting from you as a parent. Because we've got this thing of knowing our kids. So funny that you think you know the child that you gave birth to. I know. No, you don't. Listen to your child. because that's where it will stop the peer pressure, it will stop the teenage pregnancy. It will give you the opportunity to understand your child, to know your child, and it will give you the opportunity to open the room of communicating with your child. That opportunity on its own, as a parent, it gives you the right, the understanding of who she is and how she navigates life, so that you can intervene where you need to intervene in a right way by sitting down and talking to them and not forcing what you think is right to them. So the most important thing is to sit down and talk to your child and listen to understand. Yeah.
Thanks, Tembela, for that. Much appreciated. Sis Nomlindo, I'm going to come to you, but I'm going to come to you with this question that I'm getting from the audience here as well, right? And perhaps you can just maybe sum it up with some of your views as well. So the question basically comes from Usbongile. And Usbongile says that we are talking a lot, we're talking about issues of teenage pregnancy, but directing them to girls only. What responsibility of the boy child to basically bring about this awareness? And is the school doing enough to talk to boys about issues of teenage pregnancy?
Oh, yes, that is very important. The boys also are part of that life orientation when it is taught at school. When someone from outside has been asked to intervene, boys also are part of that. They must be part of that. Hence, I say really things need to be edited, because all these challenges of teenage pregnancy have a negative impact at the end of the day. If I can make you an example, like even much as the times are different, because the child in early 2007 and the child now, at least the orientation is not the same. In 2007, in my early years in this field, one of the learner, because if I can recall well, when you introduced this, you said from the children from 13 up to 14 years. But it can go even as far as 12, 11 upwards, because one of my children was 11 years old. She was raped by his stepfather. And you know what? If that child was well orientated, maybe she would have seen signs. Much as I never blamed her, because it was my baby.
Okay, so we Sis Nomlindo is frozen there for a little bit, but I want to hear more in terms of what she is going to say. I think it's absolutely pertinent. So as soon as she reconnects, we'll come back to her. Kule, and Kulu, both of you have got a question, but I'll give it to Kule, and then Kulu will give you another question. So there is a comment from Tamarin and a question, and Tamarin says, thank you, Kulu and Kule, for being activists, part of this campaign. I find myself sometimes being lured into peer pressure so that I can be relevant. How are you managing to get away from peer pressure to make sure that you stay focused? Kule, I'll give you that question from Tamarin.
Okay, number one, you have to be grounded in who you are. Like, listen to your parents' teachings. I know it's not always easy listening to them because you think you know everything and they think you know everything, so you clash. I would say, honestly, just be grounded in who you are, know who you are, what you want. And if you find yourself in situations where peers are pressuring you, you just ask yourself, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it to change my whole life over this whole decision? Like, it's only going to be 5 minutes of fame, and then what? They're going to expect you to do it over and over again. And that's kind of plummeting for you, and it's benefiting them. So I'd say be grounded in who you are, carry your parents' teachings and principles, listen to them, communicate with your parents, and just learn to say no. honestly just learn to say no. Yeah.
Thanks, Kule. I'm sure Tamrin appreciates that answer. I see Sis Nomlindo's back with us. So Nomlindo, I want to jump back to you again before I move on to Kulumango. You were giving us some nuggets there, something quite critical and something, quite important around the fact that teenage pregnancy does not necessarily start off with the teenagers who are 13. It goes, even below that. So I'll allow you to just finish your thought process.
Yes, my dear. Sorry, man, this device is hitting. Yes, I think digging deep in this orientation, it can help children to avoid some cases if they can be well orientated, because this child this landed me in court being a witness after this rape scenario. So it was just a huge and a frustrating thing because it was my early years in this field. So children need to be oriented. I fully concur with the parent because she mentioned the first at the beginning the fact that the child needs to be orientated by community, by parents, by the environment, depending on how negative, how positive that is. Because sometimes in the community, they join the groups, dance groups, those dance groups, they contribute in eliminating these negative impacts which lead them to doing wrong things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Sis Nomlindo. And then, so Kulu, I've got a question for you, right, from the audience as well. We've got Ulindiwe. Ulindiwe is basically saying, Kulu, thank you so much. I want to understand, how can I be an activist for teenage pregnancy? Because it seems as if you have got the hand over this teenage pregnancy thing. What are the things I need to do to make sure that I create awareness on teenage pregnancy?
First of all, I think it's all about the mentality that you're in. I think if you want to become an activist and stand up for other people, you should start very small, and you'll see growing up by the years and by the weeks and all of that. And I feel like you should like, if you want to be an activist, you know because you have social media, so you know where to go for those types of social basis and all of those things. So I feel like if you want to become an activist, you know where to start as a mentality, and you should just believe in what you're saying so that other people can believe as well, so that they know that they can trust you and they can come forward to you, knowing that, okay, if I tell you this, I know that this will become a lesson for every person, and then they will look at my problem as their healing. And I feel like if you have that mentality, then I feel like you will get anything that you want as an activist. And I also think that at first it was very overwhelming for me, but right now I'm starting to get the hang of it, and I feel like it's a really great thing to be speaking for other children, because you never see yourself being in these type of situations. So it's actually a very great happy situation. So I'm very excited for this, and I feel like if you have that mentality, then you can be whatever you want to.
Thank you so much, Kulu. Lindiwe, there you go. There's your answer. And then I've got a question for the parent. Tambela, there's a question for you here. There's a question from Denise. Denise is saying that I am a parent and I have got teenagers. Sometimes I want to pull my hair out because they refuse to listen. But I want to know, where can I get more information as a parent, or how can I start the discussion around, avoiding teenage pregnancy with my kids?
You and me both. I actually as a teenage mother, I do get that frustration sometimes. But what I've realized from that is that it's not helping, number one, and it's not getting me anywhere. what I think is important is to have a conversation with your kids. There mustn't be a conversation where you guys are angry or you're fighting with each other. Just start up a conversation with a child randomly as to find out who they are. They must be able to talk to you who they are in their life, what kind of things they like. It starts from there because the minute you know who your child is, what is that they like, and you know, what is it that they expect from you as a parent, I think it will be easier to actually engage on a daily basis if it has to come to that point. But it is easier. It actually opens up a space for you and for her or for him as a child to say, Mom, there's something wrong, or I've done ABC, or my friends are saying one, two, three, or you know what, this is happening. How do I approach this? The minute you sit down with a child and explain to them, listen, I'm a mother, these are my fears in life about you. I'm a mom, this is what I'm afraid that you're going to do. So that the minute you do that, trust me, they're not arrogant as such, but the minute you open that kind of communication, they will tell you, why should you need to fear? Because I know one, two, three. Because remember, even if you're not saying anything to them, but the way you react towards them and the way you react so that they can see what is it that you like and what you don't like, they can actually be able to gauge the kind of a parent that you are. You know, that actually teach them that my mom doesn't like this though. Even though she did not say anything, but the way she reacts, I know that she will never like APC, so I mustn't do that. So when you start opening those lines of communication, you will realize, no, man, actually, I am doing something even though I'm not talking, because they will actually tell you, but I wouldn't do that because I know how you feel about it, and so on. So open those kinds of communication and try to gauge and see where they at, who are they in life, and what is it that they expect from you, and that gives you the opportunity as a parent to tell them exactly what is it that you expect from them. You understand? Because it's not easy to shouting to a child. They're not going to listen to you while you're shouting at them at all.
They won't.
Pulling out the hair, it's not going to help. I've been there. It's not helping. So try and speak to them calmly in a very calm environment. Then it will be easier for you to understand the kind of child that you're raising. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Denise, I hope you did get your answer there. So Kula, I'm gonna come to you. We've run out of time. Last words from you. What do you want to say to, and I want to be deliberate about this. What do you want to say to other teenagers as well as teenage mothers, those who have found themselves pregnant as
Yeah.
right now? What do you want to say? What would be the words that you want to leave teenagers, whether they're not pregnant, whether they're pregnant or not? What would you want to say to them?
Well, I would say number one, educate yourself. Like seek knowledge. Knowledge is not gonna come to you just by waiting for it to come to you. Actually look into it, ask questions, talk to people that you're comfortable with. Like just be educated. And if you do find yourself in a situation where you are pregnant, I say look at all your options. I say really educate yourself, and it's a really life-changing decision. So you have to be really informed about it. So I would say just take it head on, take God with you, take your parents with you, and just yeah, listen to God and your parents.
I like that. Listen to God and your parents. Kulu, last words from your side. What would you say to other teenagers out there? So these are teenagers as well as those who have fallen pregnant, who are teenage mothers. So you've perhaps seen, pregnant learners in school, and what would you say to all teenagers all around? And what's your message? I mean, even to those who are pregnant right now and feel like there's no hope for them.
I would start off by the people that are pregnant right now. Um, I know it may seem like it was a bad decision. Not saying that it was not, but everything in life I believe happens for a reason, and you can take every life every life mistake as a lesson, and you should know that if I do this again, then this will be the outcome of it next time. And my message will be just to enjoy your life as young as you are, and just live by what you believe in, what your parents have the expectations of you, and don't always feel the need to always talk to friends all the time, because there's not all the time that your friends are going to be a good impact on your life, and you should know who your real friends are and who your fake friends are. And I feel like the most important people in your life is your family, and you should just stick with them and always pray to God and just thank God for like loving and having to guide you throughout everything in your life. And I feel like that is my message. And just know that every decision you make, this has consequences.
Powerful. Tembela, I know that I've been asking you for many last words while we were in the last words from your side, not only to parents, but around this issue. And then we'll hand over to Sis Nomlindo. What are your last words?
Yeah, I think I should applaud the kids of today. Really, I should, because they have how can I put it? They've got the mind of their own, and the expectations from the community, from the world at large, is too high, because the assumption out there is that they know too much. They know this, they've grown into the millennium world where everything is out there, of which it's not. I really, really applaud them, and I feel as if, as parents, we need to support them as much as we can and give them guidance wherever we can, because that's our duty at the end of the day. And loving a child that is pregnant, it's not different from loving a child that's not, because there's nothing you can do. The damage has been done. Yes, there's going to be a roller coaster of emotions. However, the damage has been done, and choose wisely for your child, because when you're going to make those decisions for that child as a parent, you need to picture and factor the fact that there's a future here for both these two people, your child and the one that's coming into life, if you decide to bring that child to life. So as a parent, you need to support it regardless. It has happened. Now you need to look forward and think of the future of your child and the child that is coming into life. Because at the end of the day, the child cannot suffer for the fact that they were pregnant and they will be punished for the rest of their life. They need to live and explore life and carry on with their career and their future and be educated and learn from the lessons of being pregnant at an early age. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Sokoni. Powerful nuggets there. And then lastly, Sis Nomlindo, from your side, what do you want to say, to everyone? Because I do believe, like I mentioned, this is a collective approach. It's a collective responsibility. What are your last words around the issue of teenage pregnancy? What do you want to say to that teenager? What do you want to say to a teenage mom, a parent, a teacher? What is your last message?
Yes, dear. To children, it is important. The right choices first are very important. Positive discussions, being friends with your parent, because you cannot trust a friend more than your parent. Seek knowledge from the right person. It can be your parent. There must be someone whom you are close to, whether it's a teacher or a parent. I always suggest, when it comes to teachers, a suggestion box. It used to work very well for us. I don't know why, but I'm also to be blamed, because I don't know why we no longer using them. On those suggestion boxes, learners are free to talk sometimes very well. They interact with you, what's on their mind, and you just encourage confidentiality when it comes to that. To children, also the use of libraries, like the internet in our local, we do have local libraries, but they use them wisely, like for the good cause, to seek information. Also boys, they must know that all these negative impacts are also affecting, are also directed to them. Being involved in sexual orientation with girls, they must know the consequences. So they must not like feel like angels on this. They must always be included.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, that's thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Melinda. We really appreciate that. So
Mm.
we have heard from our panel members, and I am, on behalf of our organization, Phenomenal African Women, incredibly appreciative of the wisdom that has come from this webinar. I do think that this message needs to be heard from across, not only South Africa, but I think the diaspora as a whole. So I want to thank all my panel members, Tembela, Tulumango, Asnomlindo, as well as Tulegazi. Thank you so much for dedicating your time and being an activist to this cause that continues to be important. Last words from my side on behalf of Phenomenal African Women. Thank you so much once again. And the strong message there is to say you need to delay teenage pregnancy. That is the message. Delay being pregnant in your teen years because you are able to make more informed decisions when you at least an adult, that's able to make rational decisions, really. And to those who have fallen prey of this social ill of teenage pregnancy, this is not the end. It is not the end. So there is still hope. You need to progress. You need to push and chase your dreams. No limitation should be against you and your dream. So even if you have a child, it doesn't stop there. You continue to fight, continue to educate yourself so that you can achieve your God-given dreams. So I would like to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you for the audience, for the questions that have actually come through. Follow us on Phenomenal African Woman. And the link will be provided with this webinar. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook as well. We will be posting this on YouTube, on our YouTube page as well. So once again, on behalf of Phenomenal African Woman, I'd like to applaud every single panel member and say that you are a phenomenal African woman, all of you as panel members. And thank you so, so much. Continue the great work that you are doing in your respective communities, and may God bless you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.